You didn't ask, but somebody did. Greetings and salutations. This is your girl, Outspoken Diva, and let's have a talk about it, shall we? What are we talking about today? We are talking about the podcast that I listen to. I had a brain fart. Y'all know this happens, right? So yeah. Um, but yeah. At the end, well, usually every year, I have a high school classmate buddy of mine. We'll call her Sheathen, based on on here, based on joke, a running joke that she has with my best friend LJ. She usually asks me, what for a book list every year. So last year, toward the end, after Christmas, um, I preemptively sent her a list, and afterwards she then was like, she thanked me, of course, and then she was like, "Hey, what about you got any podcast? What's the podcast list? That kind of stuff." And I told her, I said, "Your discernment is very powerful because the first video of the year was going to be podcasts that I listened to, or at least some of the favorites. And so yeah, this is for her and anybody else that has asked me for what podcasts I listen to, seeing that I kind of reference to some of the podcasts that I listen to in some of the in other videos. So y'all can always go check them out if y'all want to, or if y'all into podcast, you can go see what Outspoken Diva would suggest. Those type of things. It's gonna be pretty lengthy because I have them broken up into four categories: entertainment, self help, nerdy, and food related. So yeah, let's get started. Um, Entertainment. Okay, entertainment. Let me preface this by what other people, most of the masses thinks are entertaining. I don't, or but at least I have to be informed because y'all ask questions, or it comes across my timeline on different social media apps. Like I never knew who I didn't hadn't heard anything about a Kevin Samuels. I never watched a episode or a video of his, but I did know because y'all kept posting clips. I did know that I was 35 overweight and oh no, over 35 and overweight, so I was never gonna get married according to him, right? And then when he died, I was like, Kevin Samuels died. I wasn't one who, I wasn't dancing on his grave, but and then when everybody was talking about the Cheesecake Factory date, like those of us who are single, single women are not accepting Cheesecake Factory dates. Whatever podcast brought that up or social media posts that comes from whatever, I know nothing about it. But my entertainment, some of my entertainment people on my entertainment podcast list, they do, and they keep me informed and that kind of stuff. Just like social media apps and posts, they discuss the stuff, and this is how I keep. I'm informed. Also, they do talk about music and celebrity stuff, some celebrity stuff, because yeah, I don't watch everything. I also don't have the TV on. I don't turn the TV on during the day except for 1 o'clock when I take my lunch. Well, 1 o'clock Central Time when I take my lunch when it's time for Beyond the Gates. That's yeah. Podcasts are podcast and uh YouTube videos are the way that I that's why what's the noise that's in my the busy noise or what I'm listening to during the day while I'm doing work. Okay, so yeah, Squadcast is first. Squadcast, when you guys shout out to Tree Rachet and Corey Baker when those versus questions come up when I do questions and answering questions and answers which have now been moved to will be moved to TikTok. Uh um they would get it sometimes they would get them from there, And I always say, y'all let me know if you get this from another podcast, because rightfully so, people need to get their credit where credit is due, right? Okay. Well, then I started watching it. I had watched it like a few times, and it's hilarious because I mean, it's most of the people that are on Squadcast are comedians or comedic actors that I actually enjoy, that I'm a fan of. So yeah, interesting stuff. On versus this or that. Those kind of things. So okay. Uh, if you told me what was my favorite podcast, my favorite podcast is Ratchet and Respectable. Spotify will tell you that all the time. 3 years straight, Ratchet and Respectable with Demetria Lucas is my number one. I'm number one listen to podcast. I'm not listening. If she's coming out, I'm not missing the episode. Okay, so yeah, when I had the blog, I tried to pattern myself after Demetria Lucas. She's very inspirational to me. Her way of talking about entertainment things and social commentary is I like it. It's my go to. It's the way I would want to talk about it. Is you don't take she doesn't take it too serious. Like our lives are supposed to depend on this, but it's kind of lighthearted. But and then there are things when we have to talk about serious. She talks about serious topics. She talks about the serious topics. Okay, all right. So yeah, Ratchet and Respectable with Demetria Lucas. Next up, the John Effect. Most of my podcasts I listen to are either from on Spotify and or YouTube, in which I will drop all links in the description box. John Effect, I first started with John Effect on SoundCloud. Okay. But since then, I've closed my SoundCloud account. I do kind of go on SoundCloud to listen to one other podcast that's crystal clear. Shout out to her. When she says she posts, I sneak over there and go listen. But for the most part, all podcasts are on Spotify, and that I listen to, or YouTube. When John moved over to Spotify and he let me know, I was like, hey, I'm already over there. Gotcha. John talks about, just like others, he talks about, what's the, hot goss, not, topics and stuff, celebrity topics and stuff, things of that nature. And he seems to fan some of the same people. He also, he calls himself John Salvatore Mackey because he has a crush on Anthony Mackie. Guess who else is trying to be Anthony Mackie's boo? This chick. And those type of things. He also was a gladiator when Scandal was on and stuff like that. And he also teams up with and then he does a top gold, silver, and bronze on a different artist songs like Usher or the year is like 1999 and it's like a R&B we'll say R&B breakup track, those type of things. And then once a month he teams up with one of my favorite nerdy podcasters. We'll talk about him later, Mr. Rhayne Coleman. And they have Gay Side Stories revamped. And I always like to learn from other communities and stuff. So yeah, I'm heterosexual, but they are not. They identify, on the queer spectrum. So, and I like listening to them. And they talk about nerdy stuff also over there. But he's mostly entertainment. So yeah. So yeah, the John Effect with John Salvatore. Here's the thing with KevOnStage and that chick Angel. Look, two churchy adults that used to be churchy kids talking about the headline, the what everybody else is talking about. So who else is a former church kid / now churchy adult? So of course I'm gonna gravitate to my people, right? Okay, yeah. The Ball Brothers, which also has KevOnStage, and Mr. Tony Baker, who is their comedians. They talk about, top 5, we'll say gospel artists that look like they can fight. Top 5 '90s movies. By according to what they feel like at their top five. Uh, Top five rap songs from 1995, things of that nature. And they just want to talk about movies and all those kind of things. And like I said, I like their comedy work. So yeah, I like them. So speaking of Tony Baker, verbal cardio, that is his personal podcast where he talks about, like I said, like everyone else, like Demetria Lucas and John Salvatore, talk about what's going on, what's the hot topics going on, and whatever topics he wants to talk about. Sometimes he wants to talk about what y'all are asking him all week, about when he's getting back in a relationship, or what kind of vegan milk that he likes, or that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's fun time. Then also movie reviews. I have now. If you tell me a specific movie that I might have watched, who do I watch to compare notes? I have a separate list. I might share it. I might not share it. Or if you have like a TV show like Beyond the Gates, I follow some people who actually review the show. So yeah, um, those type of things. Like I said, Wicked. When I got through doing my video, then I watched all the people. But this is a podcast, Medium Popcorn. They review most of the movies. So and they are funny. They are very hilarious. They rank their rankings are from large, medium, small popcorns, and then the dog crap pile. So if the movie, how they feel about the movie and stuff like that, they are a fun time. They're a good time. I like them. Um, then under entertainment, there's a sub section called I'm gonna call the Reddit section. These are people who give their take on Reddit posts. Like am I a hole? Brazilla stuff. Vengeful talk. Revenge topics. Stuff that people actually sit down and answer the questions from people from Reddit. And yeah, I thought about doing that at one time, but they do it much better. I like it. Yeah. So that would be POV, petty POV with Charlotte Dobre. She does a lot of Brazilla stuff too. I think she's hilarious. The Comfort Level podcast. It's a group of friends. I think it's actually a boyfriend and girlfriend, then the boyfriend's cousin, and then they bring on different ones of their friends, and they discuss, am I a hole or vengeful topics. I like them. They're young. They're spunky. I like them. They're fun. They're cute. Cute little group. And most time I be agreeing with them. So yeah. And then the only kids in the classroom is a husband and wife team who they do Reddit posts and also TikTok videos, and they give their point of view. And I'm now learning that the husband he talks about sometimes talks about his podcast, and some of the podcasts that I am a fan of, he's a fan of. So yeah, hey, we got things in common. So yeah, so that is the entertainment side. Let's talk about self help. Uh, some of this stuff, these advice things I'll be talking about, I don't get that from just. I mean, I don't. That just doesn't. I'm just not smart on top of my brain. I am being fed into a lot. So yeah, here are my favorite people who to feed into me on my self help, on my relationship, on my grief journeys, on all kinds of journeys. Okay, these are people that are feeding into me, or I allow to feed into me, for different topics and stuff. Okay, we're gonna start with Homecoming, the Homecoming podcast with Dr. Thema. Dr. Thema, I was first introduced to Dr. Thema through her brother, Dr. Jamal Bryant, pastor. He's a pastor of a church in Atlanta, New Birth Baptist Church, and he had a reality show with Casey and JoJo of Jodeci fame, and he brought in a psychologist who happens to be his sister, Dr. Thema, and I've been a fan of her. She talks some very good stuff then, and then I found out she had a podcast years later, and it's called The Homecoming, and it is the homecoming into yourself. And she has different, topics and stuff. And she has words of wisdom and very good pearls of proverbs and stuff. So check out Dr. Thema. Thoughts about feelings with Blair and Michael. Um, Michael is Michael Threets, the librarian, the internet librarian. He is also now the host of Reading Rainbow. Him and Blair Imani have a podcast where we talk about your feelings, talk about being quirky, talking about being yourself, being brave, and those type of things. Love them, and they have guests on a lot of times. They talk about feeling and how to be yourself. Okay. Choosing joy with joy. Deborah Winans. She is a daughter of one of the members of the gospel singing group, the Winans. But she's an actress in her own right, and she brings different guests on, and they talk about how to find joy in your life. Different ways to do that, and how these people do that. Okay, so yeah. Just here with Dr. J. That is, Dr. J is Dr. J Barnett. Um, um, Dr. J has his focus is on men, but he has women and stuff on there too. And he's a clinician, and he does work with men, but he has women on the show also. But and they talk about a bevy of topics, self help topics, especially those of us who when we talk about depression and people who have suicidal ideologies and mental health issues and stuff of that nature. When everybody struggles, but some of us really struggle. I mean, I've never had suicidal ideologies, but yeah, I struggle with depression sometimes. I struggle with, self doubt, you know, and Dr. J has brought, he's one of the newer podcasts for me, but he has brought on different celebrities, some people you may not know, some people that are also in his line of work, who talk about our day, how do we function from day to day. um he also has like he refers to like his books and stuff. He has books, Just Heal Bro. Like I say, he does a lot of work and a lot of speaking engagements to men, and how men can navigate the world, no, navigate their world with their feelings and their emotions and things of that nature. Love him. Love this guy. Yeah, check him out, especially you guys, especially men. Okay, all ages and all the men. Go check him out. Okay. The brown girl experience. When I talk about people who are my friends in my head, Ericka, the brown girl, is one of my friends in my head. She doesn't know it. But I mean, she doesn't really know me. But yeah, she talks about her dating life and um, her mental health journeys, her health journeys, uh, self esteem journeys, and all of those things, and doing the work, and those things. And she also brings on like some of her friends and things, and they, we talk about a baby of black girl issues, lady issues, women issues. Okay, good, good. Self care in real life. This is a podcast. We talk about, she talks about, it's DJ. Oh gosh, what is her name? She has the gray hair. I should have wrote that down, but the the host, she's a DJ, also, but she has gray hair, but she's like not, over 65. But real sweet lady. But she talks about our self care journey. When we need to get rest, when we need to deal with our grief emotions, those things. Love her. Very good podcast. And in my opinion, with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson, which is probably one of the more popular mainstream podcasts that I actually listen to. That's at least on this list. Michelle Robinson and her brother Craig Robinson, Michelle Obama, and her brother Craig Robinson. They have guests on. They talk about being single in their 50s. Not those two. I mean, Craig has been, but they bring in. That was the one where um, Tracy Ellis Ross was. People felt like she was so controversial because she talked about she's in her 50s and she'll date a guy younger than her. Had Cat Williams talk about things. They talk about their childhood, and those things. Very good podcast, very positive, very and is lighthearted also. They don't take themselves seriously, but they talk about, things, of this world without being about politics. Let's just talk about how we are living in this world, okay? All right, so those are what the self help and relationship and mental health podcasts that I listen to. All right, let's talk about the nerdy. There's all over the place with Dara Starr Tucker. And she can be all over the place. She talks about politics. She talks about music things. She's a very good historian of music. I learned a lot about when Sandra Clark passed away. I mean, not Sandra Clark, Sandra Crouch. Sandra Clark is a character from 227, played by Jackie Harris. Anyways, when Sandra Crouch passed away, found out how her song "Yes Lord," which is a black gospel staple, saved a white Christian radio record company, and I learned that from Dara Star Tucker. A lot of stuff. Oh my God, she's a fan of Dick Van Dyke. She loves that man, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot from her. And then there are also topics like, uh, should Christians pledge, no pledge Black Greek organizations? And she brought on Fred Hammond and got his opinion about that. I love this. Love this podcast. This lady is very wise, and her presentation. Like I said, most of these, no one takes themselves too serious. Like this is like gospel word. And like I said, they're fun. Okay, so yeah, Dara, Star Tucker, and all over the place. Carefree Black Nerd. Again, someone who is my friend in my head, like just like he's his friend John Salvatore. I have met him. If y'all ever get a chance to go over to my Instagram page, you will see that the one time I did cosplay, I was in Baltimore for a Comic Con convention, and I got to meet him. I was already a fan, and I was like, there goes Rhayne Coleman. And I tapped him, and he was like, hey, that stuff. I mean, we had talked. It was like I said, the days of SoundCloud. I used to be in people's comments. Oh God, y'all. I started it, and then I would like regret it because like people were like, hey, so and so. They would call my name. Like, oh my God. And he was one. He's real sweet. But he talks about a lot of like Marvel and DC and comic book stuff and movie, like TV shows and things of that nature. He keeps you abreast. Back in the days, back when we were all on Twitter, he would live tweet different comic book shows, especially those that were black. The main character was a black person. Yeah. So yeah. Also, he is an author. So, and I read Loving Ashley and Ordinary People. He is a very good author. So yeah. I highly suggest you pick up his works. And like I said, once a month he goes on to the John Effect show, and they talk about queer. They talk about comic book stuff and queer issues and topics that they talk about. And I love listening to him, love learning from him. And I learned, like I said, there's a lot of especially comic book characters of color that he talks about on the Carefree Black Nerd show that I love listening about. The Isaiah Bradley character from Captain America 4, and when did Isaiah Bradley and Captain America and the Winter Soldier, no, Falcon and the Winter Soldier that showed up. I first learned about Isaiah Bradley from Carefree Black Nerd years. I think we were still in phase one of the Marvel series. I think uh Infinity War might have been coming out when I learned about no when Rhayne introduced us to Isaiah Bradley. So yeah, he's been ahead of the game. He does the work. So yeah. So yeah. So yeah, that's the end of the nerd. Oh, and Nerdy Venoms podcast. I don't know how. Not as I like these guys. They keep up with what's current. Also with and nerdy news. They review the movies. They review the shows. All of those things. Like love nerdy Venoms. They're a group of guys. So mostly guys. So yeah. So they might have somebody on, a guest on every night. But yeah, they're very good. Food related. My last topic. Eat Drink DFW. I live in the DFW area. This is tied to the local news, not newspaper, the Dallas Morning News. You can find out what's happening, what's hip happening. You know, what's the more expensive stuff to you might want to go into. What's the stuff that's not as expensive to go into? We find out no the Michelin when Dallas finally was a Michelin star city. We can keep up with who was a Michelin star winner. One of the restaurants that I when I saved my pennies and would go to brunch, to have me a no treat yourself brunch. They became a Michelin star recommended spot. This is how, and this is why I learned was from DFW Foodies. Um, this Mexican pop up from this Mexican chef that was, that's from Mexico. He had a pop up in Dallas. I found out that's where he was gonna be because of Eat Drink DFW. They keep a lot, and then they answer a lot of questions about what's going on in the food scene. We find out, what's the new openings and closings and all that kind of stuff. So good, good show to listen to. Then Chewed Up, probably the newest podcast to all of my list. If you watched the Chew that was on ABC, uh, it ended, and three of the hosts, Clinton Kelly, Carla Hall, and Michael Simon, decided to all three of them to get together and do a podcast. And they come on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Appetizer, main dish, dessert, and they cook and show us new recipes. Fun because they are the fun. They were the fun ones on the show. I mean, everybody was fun, but these were the ones that was cracking up. Tickling your rib cage, right? Okay, so your funny bone. So yeah, that was them. You need like ideas or recipes and all of these kind of stuff. Let them tell you. Watch them, have your good fun. Write down your recipes and enjoy, learn some things. Okay. All right, that is the end of my list. That is the list. Like I said, everything, all links from if they have a Spotify or a YouTube, because some of them have both. I will leave them down below on whatever you might be interested in. Yeah, I know this is long, as but we talking about things that I'm interested in. Okay, so yeah. Are you interested in podcasts? What podcasts do you watch and that you think that I might be interested in? Whether I'm interested in or not, leave them down below in the comment section of this video on the social media site that you see this on, or you can always shoot me an email at the email address that is in the description box, okay? Because I want to know what all y'all are listening to also. Because, yeah. Especially during the holidays, I have the hardest time because a lot of my Some of my podcasts go on hiatus. And I want to listen to what y'all are listening to. So when they go on hiatus or go on break or whatever, I need to hear something else too. And then I end up liking it. That's how I found them because I was trying to find something else. Okay. So yeah, leave me those down below. So yeah, other than that, talking to you in adult terms.